2, 1, live.
My name is Dr. Allie Mendelson, and we'll be talking about longevity and living a long, healthy life and all the secrets and all that stuff today. Okay, so if you don't know me, I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 26 years, almost 27 years, coming up in December. So I started researching longevity about probably in June. And so biohacking and anti-aging, there's all this like anti-aging and biohacking. I just wanted to know what is the deal with all this stuff? So there are pockets of people around the world, different areas, that have this high percentage of them live past 100. And so if you want to know how to be healthy and how to live a long, healthy life, those are the people you study, the people who have done it. Not necessarily the research, what people think or what doctors think. It's like, what do they actually do and how did they do that? And is it genetics? You know, and it's not, by the way, it's not genetics. So I just started doing some research. So one of the things I did was I read this book. I'm going to talk about it. And then I just started listening to podcasts, all these different people, and reading all these articles. And it was so interesting because what I found wasn't what I expected at all in any way. It's actually so incredibly simple, all the things that I found. It just wasn't, it's not what you expect. And the guy who wrote this book, which is a really good book, he said the same thing. He said it's not what he expected to learn. He studied these cultures for 10 years and traveled with teams and researchers and psychologists and interviewed many, many people in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and hundreds who live in these areas, and he said the same thing. He was almost expecting, when I talk about this, some people expect, oh, this kind of diet, that's what it is, or this herb, or this thing, it's none of those things. All the people, they eat different foods. They do different things. They live in different climates. It's so interesting. So what I'm going to start off with, though, I'm going to read you a little story from this book. And this encompasses all of it. Everything that you're going to learn basically is encompassed in this story of this man, okay? This is really good for reading. Okay, so, let's see. I'm going to paraphrase the beginning. So there was a man named Stamatis Moraitis. I might be saying that wrong, it's Greek. He came from Icaria, which is a small island in the Aegean Sea. This is one of the nine areas in the world has high people living to a long life. And they had actually suffered greatly during World War II, having been occupied by the Italians and then the Germans. And then one village alone, more than 100 people perished from starvation. So he left. And he came to the United States seeking treatment for his hand, which was mangled in an accident with the war. But he decided to stay in America. He settled in Port Jefferson, which was right near where I grew up. He got a job painting houses and schools. He quickly gained a reputation for honesty and a good work ethic. Opportunity and higher pay took him to Ohio and then on to Boynton Beach, Florida, where he once painted Rose Kennedy's house. Along the way, he married Elpeniki, a Greek-American woman 13 years younger, had 3 children, bought a 3-bedroom house, 1951 Chevy, and basically he reached the American dream. You guys can hear me? Yes. One day at work, years later, now he was in his 60s at this point, he felt short of breath. It seemed to be happening more and more often. He fatigued quickly. Climbing stairs was a chore, and often he was forced to put down his brush by midday. So his doctor took x-rays and quickly concluded that he had lung cancer, perhaps from years of inhaling paint fumes or his 3-pack-a-day smoking habit. He was not sure why. So 4 more doctors, could be both, 4 more doctors confirmed the diagnosis. They gave him 6 to 9 months to live. At 60, okay, early 60s. So Stamatis considered staying in Boynton Beach, where he could seek aggressive cancer treatment at the local hospital. And that would allow him to remain close to his 3 children, who were now adults. Or it occurred to him, he could return to Icaria. There he could be buried with his parents in a sloping cemetery shaded by oak trees overlooking a cobalt blue Aegean Sea. A funeral home in Boynton would cost $1,200, a funeral. While a nice funeral in Icaria would cost only $200, leaving more of his retirement money for his kids and his wife. So he decided to move back to Icaria and die among his countrymen and ancestors. So they moved. They moved there, and they moved in with his parents, who were still alive, in a tiny whitewashed house on 2 acres of rolling vineyards outside the town of Agios Kyriakos. That sounded great. On the island's eastern coast. Year-round sea breezes, legendary since the time of Ulysses, blew through this part of the island. At first, he spent his days in bed, as his mother and wife tended to him. Sensing the end was near, he decided to reconnect with his religion. So on Sunday mornings, he forced himself out of the house and hobbled up the hill to a tiny Greek Orthodox chapel where his grandfather had once served as priest. When his childhood friends discovered that he had moved back, they started visiting him regularly. They would talk for hours, invariably bringing him the locally produced wine, which he sipped all day long. What the hell, he thought, I might as well die happy. And in the ensuing months, something strange happened. He started to feel stronger. He got out of bed in the afternoon and shuffled around the gardens and the vineyards behind the house. One day, feeling very ambitious, he planted some potatoes, green onions, garlic, and carrots. He didn't expect to be alive to harvest them, but he enjoyed feeling the sunshine, breathing the clean ocean air, and getting his hands dirty with the soil of his birth. And his wife could see, and he figured his wife could enjoy the vegetables after he was gone. So 6 months came and went, and he didn't die. Instead, he harvested that garden, and feeling emboldened, cleaned up the family vineyard as well. Easing himself into the island routine, he woke up late, worked in the vineyards until mid-afternoon, made himself lunch, and then took a long nap. In the evenings, he either drank wine with friends at home or walked to the local tavern where he stayed up past midnight playing dominoes. The years passed. His health continued to improve. He added a couple of rooms to his parents' homestead so his children could visit. He built up the vineyard, producing 400 gallons of wine a year. And today, 35 years later, he's 100 years old and cancer-free.
Get out.
He never went through chemotherapy, took drugs, or sought therapy of any kind. All he did was move to Icaria and go back to living the way that they lived. And it's interesting. So the guy who wrote the book interviewed him. He interviewed him for the book, and then a year later, he called him to to add more to the interview. He figured he needed some more questions, and he said, "Wait a minute, I have one more question," because he asked him a bunch of stuff. He goes, "Did you ever figure out exactly how you recovered from lung cancer?" And Stratus said, "It just went away," he said. "I actually went back to America 10 years after moving here to see if the doctors could explain it to me." And so Dan said, "What happened?" "My doctors were all dead." Yeah. I don't know. It didn't say if he continued smoking. He probably stopped. It's probably like an American. I don't know.
And what was their diet in that place?
They just eat a lot of vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit of what I learned, and we'll kind of go through. The basic overall is all the people in these regions, they don't eat a lot of food. They fast a lot. They don't eat any processed food. And they get a lot of movement. And they feel like they have a purpose in life. That's basically the key. That's he stayed up till midnight, slept late, drank wine every night. And then he not only kicked cancer, but lived way past 100.
longevity is a part of his.
No, because when he
His
moved to
pa-
America, he got cancer and would have been dead in 6 months.
Allow me to finish.
Okay, go ahead.
His parents seemed like they were people that would live long. How long do his parents live?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. But what they do, what you find in these areas. So Okinawa is another area. I have a list of these. Of course, this isn't working now. So Okinawa is another region, and they've studied Okinawans for years. For 20 years, they've studied Okinawans. Okinawans who live in Okinawa, the ancient way, live past 100. Okinawans who move somewhere else, they die the same exact time that everyone else dies in America and Canada and Brazil and all these other places. So it's not, and what Dan talks about in his book, that it's not genetics. It is not genetics at all. It's lifestyle. And he does specifically talk about that. But really, with a lot of these areas, when they study the people, they study even the people who live in these areas but don't live that way, have kind of moved to the city and live a more modern life. They don't live long. They don't live long.
So we can't say it's environmental then that much, right?
It's environmental because they're living in a city environment, which is stressful on processed food and working and crazy and prescription drugs, not like living on the hillside, growing your own food, you know. Does that make sense? So it's environmental, but it's not genetic. Because when they move, the genes they don't live that long. So here, this is Dan Buettner. Several longevity hotspots surfaced throughout his expeditions. The Barbaria region of Sardinia, Italy, Icaria, Greece, where he was from, Okinawa, Japan, the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, and Loma Linda, California.
Really? Wow.
They're Seventh-day Adventists who have a very tight community. They have a very strong faith, a very tight community, and they don't kind of live the way anyone else lives around them. That's why. People in these blue zone regions, they don't just live longer, but they live better. And there's a large number of centenarians, which is people who live over 100, but they remain active into their 80s, 90s, and they don't suffer from the chronic diseases that's common in other parts of the industrialized world. So he went with a team of demographers and scientists and grants, and he wanted to reverse engineer longevity. It's like, why? Like, what is it? Like, what are they doing? What are they thinking? What are they eating? What are they doing? It's a really interesting book. But I didn't just read this book. I looked at a lot of other information and watched a lot of podcasts and read a lot of articles, and it really all led back to the same. It all led back to the same information. Here are the blue zones. And so what the goal is to understand what they do different, and then to create your own, like the end of the talk is about creating your own blue zone here. Because knowing why they do this is great, but if you can't apply it to your life, and you can't move to Icaria, then what's the point, right? So you want to create your own, blue zone. So here, okay, again, this is not what I expected. That is the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway from any of this is having a reason for being. So in Okinawa, they call it ikigai. I might not, did I say that right? And also Okinawans do not have a word for stress. When he was interviewing some of these older people and he asked about stress, there was no like the children, like I don't know how to ask my parent that because there's no word for that. One Italian woman cursed him out because he asked her about that. That was the funny part. I should read that part. That was fun. So this is the biggest thing, is having a reason for getting up. They said when they had a reason for getting up in the morning, they have a greater purpose in their life. It doesn't have to, and I'm going to talk more about having a purpose, but this is the biggest takeaway from any of the research that I did. plays a major role in every blue zone and is associated with extreme longevity. So I'll read it to you. A strong sense of purpose acts as a buffer against stress and helps reduce inflammation. So this is the science behind it, right? The NIH in 2014 found that individuals who expressed a clear life goal lived longer and had sharper minds. And recently, the JAMA followed 7,000 people over age 50 and linked a strong sense of purpose with a lower risk of everything, basically, over the age of 50. Everything, a lower risk of everything with a strong sense of purpose. So what you have to do, number one, is what's your purpose? Right? What is your purpose? It doesn't have to be some grand save the world purpose. It could be you want to be around for your grandchildren and be energetic and play with them. There's your purpose. Right? It could be helping your community by volunteering. It could be anything. It could be art. I don't know, whatever brings you satisfaction. So another guy I was listening to talked about happiness. And he said happiness is not a goal in and of itself. It's not. Because when you're happy, he described it, you're happy in the moment, right? You're not always going to be happy. You can have a great life and have great purpose and love what you do and not be happy all the time. Like, you don't have to be happy 24 hours a day, right? But you can still have this great life satisfaction. So if you're not happy, then are you a failure? It's like, well, I'm not happy right now. So you don't want to base anything on like you and how you feel. That doesn't bring happiness. That causes depression. It has to be on a greater, something outside of you, other people that you're helping. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So being satisfied with your life satisfaction is more important. Are you satisfied with how you're spending your time and what you're doing? Like helping people in a group, right? That's a huge amount of satisfaction. Doing something, volunteering your time is huge. And there are 3 things that define life satisfaction. You want to pursue meaning, you want to work hard, and what is your role in the big picture? So pursuing meaning and purpose in your life. This is, again, people are like, oh, am I going to learn what to eat? Well, nah, maybe, but really this is what's more important. This is missing in our culture, isn't it? Is this missing in our culture?
Absolutely.
That's why we're all depressed and having cancer and heart disease, and then you eat all this food because it gives you, it's like comfort food because you're not satisfied or happy, or you don't feel like what you're doing is important. This is what you have to do. And so this is my favorite quote. One of my coaches talked about this quote 15 years ago. I never forgot it. I looked it up. I wanted to write it exact. So if a man is called to be a street sweeper, this is Martin Luther King Jr., he should sweep streets even as a Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. Right? You don't have to be a doctor, a lawyer. You can do whatever you're doing, and you give it your all, and you care about it, and you do a great job. That's what's important. Maybe, I've heard people say, well, I don't work, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Be the best mom. Doesn't matter. Just love it and you don't have to get a job or do work outside the house to have meaning either. And a lot of these people are in the blue zones. What keeps them going is that when they moved in with their children and just helped their children raise their grandchildren. And that's what kept them going. That brought meaning to them. Because in a lot of these cultures, all the generations lived together, either in the same house or very, very close to each other, right? And they were all very, very, their family was the most important thing to them. And so what are you called to do? Like, sweep streets? Say that 5 times. What are you called to do? What is your purpose? This is what you have to start this is what you should write down, and then you go home and then you pray about it, meditate about it, whatever it is you do. What are you called to do? Like what is your purpose? And maybe you retired and you need a new purpose. I don't know. Wherever you are in your life, figure out, this is what you have to figure out. This will lead to, everything else will fall into place when you start doing these things. These are not like things that someone else can teach you. I mean, you can get together with people and you can talk about it, but this is what you figure out. Maybe you already have your purpose. You know, my purpose is doing this and helping people. And I love it. It doesn't feel like work. Right? Candace has a new job, and her mom said, it's not really a job, she loves it so much. And that's what it should all be. I tell people that all the time. You should love what you do. Do what you love what you do. You should have fun. Like, I help coach chiropractors. And I said, oh, I don't really take vacations, and I love what I do, and I just love it. I've been, you're doing it for 26 years. Like, why are you not stressed out? I'm like, because I hired my best friend to work for me, and I love my patients, and I do the best I can, and I have fun, and I'm satisfied because I see people get healthy. And so that's what I'm called to do, right? So what are you called to do? Race cars. He races cars. Maybe, that's pretty cool. So what is it that you're called to do? What's your purpose? How do you make a difference? Again, it doesn't have to be a career. It could be hobby, volunteer work could be your life's purpose. You go to your job and you make money so you can pay your bills, and you volunteer your time doing something that's meaningful to you and helping other people. A backyard garden where you grow your food. That could bring you great joy. That's what a lot of these people do. They grow their own food. That gives them something to do every day, and it's meaningful. Watching your grandchildren grow up, right?
Done that.
This is a very important one. Our society, like the younger kids maybe more, are just massively opposed to working hard. They want to do the least amount of work and make the most amount of money. And that does not bring anyone any joy ever. But they're so right, aren't they? They're so like hard work. I don't want to work hard. You should work hard at anything that you do. You should work hard. I was taking a yoga class yesterday, and Annie, my yoga teacher, said, "What is it with everyone? You just want to be comfortable all the time." She was like, "People think that comfort is the goal. Being uncomfortable is where being uncomfortable is where that's where you grow, that's where you change, that's where you are alive, when you're uncomfortable. If you can get yourself uncomfortable, then great things happen in your life. But being comfortable, right, what is that? That's boring, right? So, too much air conditioning this summer, too much heat in the winter. Be cold, be hot, be a little uncomfortable. That's actually good for your body. I'll talk about it later. And this really great quote from Teddy Roosevelt: nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, and difficulty. I've never in my life envied a human being who led an easy life. I've envied a great many people who led difficult lives and led them well. And there's a really good book called Unlucky in Riches. This woman wrote a book about people winning the lottery and how it ruined their lives. It didn't make them any happier. They basically lost all the money pretty quickly. Not everyone, but it ruined their lives, because now they didn't even have to work. And then they're like, well, now what am I supposed to? What is my purpose? Almost, why am I don't have to work to make money. So now what am I supposed to do? Right? Most people who win the lottery lose all the money anyway. Really, within a year, right? They just waste it. So that's a really good book if you're confused about this type of view. Type of world view. But working hard at something you believe in isn't work. Right? Working hard at raising your children, working hard at exercising and sweating and being out of breath and being uncomfortable, going to work and putting extra effort in. And all of those things will bring meaning and happiness and real true joy. I homeschool my boys. That's not easy. Sometimes I just get yelled at and they're like, whine, and They cry when I get 100 on a test. I mean, it's not easy to be at home homeschooling my boys. My husband's like, how would you do it? I'm like, it's so satisfying. It's so satisfying because I'm putting forth great effort.
Yeah.
And that's why it's satisfying. And I get to spend time with them. You know, and do things that, you know, it doesn't matter what someone else says. Doesn't matter what other people do. Do whatever it is you want to do. When I first decided to homeschool, one of my friends was like, you can't homeschool and run a practice. I'm like, whatever. You can do whatever you want, right? I believe that anyone can do anything they want to do. It doesn't matter if anyone else has ever done it. Don't you think so? Anyone can do anything they want. You just have to want to do it. Right? There doesn't have to be any kind of precedent set. Just do it. Figure it out. If you love it, right, you work hard. And so your role in the big picture, what is it? What is your role? Like what is your purpose? Same thing as purpose. Kind of what is your role? Is it, you know, if you believe in God, is it what did God put you here to do? Think about that. What did God put you on this earth to do? It could be anything. But you know, if you think about that, why are you here? What is your purpose? How can you make a difference? It doesn't have to be a giant world-saving difference. It could be any difference is a difference. You can just work really hard at what you do, and then you're an example for someone else to like work hard and then be happy at what they're doing. Right? If you just influence one person, you just helped one person, right? So what is it that, right, you don't have to be a doctor, whatever it is that's important to you, what is your role? These are all very big questions. There's no herb or supplement that's gonna get you, unfortunately, where you need to be. But right, isn't that what you kind of expected? You know, it's never easy or like quick and easy. But it's simple. Everything that helps is always simple. It's always simple. It might not be easy. It might just be life change or thinking. You have to think differently. You have to behave differently. You have to live differently. And it's simple, and you have to simplify things. But it's not like, I'm just going to take that superfood, and then I'm going to live to 100, and it doesn't matter. It's not going to work. There's nothing wrong with doing it. I do it, but that's not the key. There's no like little key, right? There's no pill. There's no magic pill. It takes work. But once you figure this stuff out, then your life changes and it all gets easier. So let's talk about some of the things that they do with their lifestyle. So that's their mental. And they all have some kind of spirituality. Everyone in any of these areas has strong spirituality. Some of them are Christian, some of them are Catholic, or they're Christian, Catholic, Adventists. Then you have Buddhists, and then you have Okinawans. Not quite sure what that is, but it's very interesting, right? So they believe in ancestors and all this interesting stuff, but they're believing in something bigger than themselves. They kind of have that spirituality. So whatever it is, it's Buddhism, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, something you believe in that's bigger than you. So they all have that. So, but after that, they all had all these other things that they all do. And one of the things that they all did was they just moved a lot. They moved a lot. They didn't sit around. There was not a lot of sitting around. Even at 100, there was not as much sitting around as you think, right? And what he also did was he also went to the areas and then interviewed people that were 75. It's like, okay, well, what were they doing at 75 to get to 100? You know, and so maybe it was Italy. I don't remember. Maybe it was Sardinia. At 75, they were herding sheep, which meant 20 miles of walking a day. And a lot of times it meant going out to the fields for days with herding these sheep up and down mountains. And they were moving, and they were only eating a little bit, right? So there's a lot of movement. So you have to get moving. Like, our culture is a lot of sitting. And when you sit, you get tired. Who gets tired when they sit? Who's falling asleep right now because you're sitting, right? We need some partner water. So, but when you move, you get energetic. You get energized. Who exercises? Right? Do you feel better when you exercise? You feel more energy. exercise gives you energy. It doesn't take energy away. It gives you walking, moving, yoga. It all gives you energy. It doesn't take energy away. It doesn't make you tired. And so inconvenience yourself. Make things uncomfortable. That's fun. Like, you don't think that's fun, but it's fun. So like, you park really far away. My mom, she loves getting the first spot anywhere she goes. And like, we will drive and drive and drive around until she has like the first spot. It's funny. That's just her thing. She's not into moving so much, but she's 82, so
Yeah.
it's funny though. Everyone has their thing. But make yourself park far away, even when it's cold or when it's hot. Take the stairs instead of the escalator or the elevator. Run up and down the stairs. Like, go up, go down, then go back up, and then you're there, right? Like, add movement to your life. You know, anyone have any other ideas about this? Like, what other ideas about like inconveniencing yourself? Get a standing desk. That's huge. You guys have any ideas about inconveniencing yourself, getting to get moving more?
Walk the mall.
Walk the mall, right? You guys can walk the mall in the winter or in the summer. I know people do it. They have music they play, and there's all these other people you can walk. I think I might have talked about this somewhere else, but in another slide, like creating a blue zone. But get rid of your snow blower and your leaf blower, and shovel the snow and rake the leaves. That's satisfying. What else? Do you have something better to do? Go on Facebook, answer emails, right? What is there that's more important? Right? All of these conveniences and all of this technology has gotten us completely away from doing real things. Like, what did this guy do when he went back to Greece? He did real things and he recovered. He worked on his garden, he walked to church, he walked to see his friends. He wasn't like running a marathon or doing anything. You don't have to do stuff like that, right? You just get moving. Yes.
My body craves to work out. So
Yeah.
if I don't work out in 2 or 3 days, it's like I gotta get
Yeah.
moving, I gotta do something. And then when I'm sleeping at night, I get up in the morning, that's when I'm achy. I
Right.
gotta move my body in order to get the
Yeah.
stress out of my
Yes.
body.
That's exactly
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm the same way. So I do power yoga 4 days a week, and I need it all 4 days. And it has to be intense and fast and hot and sweaty and out of breath. And I'm like, am I gonna die? No. Like, do I have to check my? Right. That's what I like. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Crave that. Not everybody craves that. So maybe if I was born in a different time or a different place, I'd be like hiking the mountains, dragging the sheep.
Yeah.
And maybe someone else is like doing the garden, which is like lighter work. Like, everyone has different personalities, so you don't have to be like that. You don't have to do that to feel good or to get what you need. You might, like, maybe light work, maybe walking is the best thing for you, maybe light yoga, maybe whatever it is, right? So it doesn't have to be that, although some people need that, and that's okay. If you need that, then do that. Jonas needs that. He does Bikram yoga. How old are you? Can you tell him? You don't want to tell him? He looks like he's 60, but he's not.
Your mother's age.
You're my mother's age. He does Bikram yoga. How many days a week?
2 or 3.
2 or 3. You know what that is? That's 105 degrees of heat in a room for 90 minutes of intense exercise.
Oh,
And he does it like 2 or 3 days a week. And you feel good, right? You look great and you work still. Right? He's like our little blue zone guy. Like, come to the office and talk about what you do. Come to my talk.
Gets all the toxins out.
Yeah. So he needs that. But not everyone needs that. You don't have to do that. But you have to move. And do something that's fun. What do you like to do that's fun that includes movement? So one of my patients, she's like, my daughter is 17. She's lazy. How do I get her? I said, well, is there something that she likes? I was like, well, she likes playing. We were at a picnic and she was playing volleyball and she loved it. Because she doesn't know it's exercise. And I was like, get her on a volleyball team, but just make it like, oh, you should just join this like local volleyball club. You might, not saying, oh, you need to start exercising so you can be healthier. Like, so she does it and she doesn't know that it's exercise. But she loves it and she's getting exercise and movement. So you have to find what works for you. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to go, you could do anything. Think about what it is that you want to do. And find people who will do those things with you. and maybe hold you accountable, right? I take a class. I cannot push myself the way a teacher yells and pushes me. At all, I can't do it. I have to go to a class, and someone yell at me, and then I work hard. But some people can push themselves, some people can't. I like to take a class, but find somebody that maybe wants to walk with you or garden with you or, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever you want to do. It's just as long as it's movement. It doesn't have to be like a specific type of exercise. You have to have fun, right? Walk during your coffee break. I don't know. Do all these things. Find someone, plant a garden, all this stuff. Yoga is my favorite way to move because you're using your whole body. Like when you go to the gym and you lift weights, you're like, maybe you do this exercise and then you work out that muscle. And then you don't work out any of the other muscles and then you injure your shoulder, right? But yoga uses your whole body. Like you use all your joints and you strengthen and stretch all your joints. And even in certain yoga, you get a cardiovascular exercise doing it. So it's all kind of all encompassing. So that's why I like that. And we're going to talk about walking because a lot of people just walk a lot. They walk a lot. So the American Cancer Society followed 140,000 older adults and reported that those who walked 6 hours per week had a lower risk of dying from cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease, and cancer. Just walking, right? You can do fast walking if you want. Or you just walk, but walk 6 hours a week. That's like an hour a day, and you take 1 day off, and that's it. That's a lot of walking, right? But it's not too much. You can, listen to something, or just look around, or go with your friend and talk, whatever it is. It activates, here's the science, it activates your lymphatic system to get rid of toxins and to help your immune system stronger. It eliminates toxins. It helps you fight infections, and it strengthens your immunity. Just 6 hours a week. You have to schedule time for it. This is not, if I have time today, maybe I'll do something. That's not how this works. You know how the movement works? You schedule that in, and then you schedule everything else. So like my office hours are scheduled around yoga. This is when I do yoga. Okay. This is when I can work. That's how I schedule it. I schedule it like that. I also schedule yoga at 9:30 because I can't do 6 a.m. classes. So I schedule sleep, yoga, work, homeschooling. It's like that. But I schedule my exercise has always been put number one in my schedule. When am I going to exercise? And if someone says, "Oh, can you do this on this day?" and it's yoga, I'm like, "No, I can't." There's like it has to be like pretty serious for me to skip that. I will not skip that for anything. They're like, "Sorry, I can't do that. I have an appointment then." Like I consider it an appointment and I don't miss it. So schedule in your movements. When are you going to walk? During your lunch break? In the morning? At night? With your family? I don't know. When are you going to walk? Schedule it. And then do it. Schedule it and then and do it.
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
So moving and walking are two different bullets?
No, they're the same. This is just some people just like to walk. I just added, because walking was like when you look at longevity experts and what they talk about, there's a lot of walking. It's not a little walking, it's a lot of walking. So it's all movement. Some people love to just walk, but if you're going to walk, you got to walk a lot. And maybe you hike, and maybe you walk up a hill or something, right? It's just a way that a lot of people move, especially when they're older and they can't do, like when they're 100 and they're not going to be running up a hill, maybe they're just walking up the hill. All right. This is going to lead us to a lot of the other things that you can do. Hormesis is, I'll read it in a minute, but basically what this is you're putting your body under a little bit of stress, and that makes you stronger. And this stress can come from any kind of, all different types of things. It's not a lot of stress, it's a little stress. So if you fast, if you do intermittent fasting, I'll talk about that, where you skip breakfast, right? You do intermittent fasting. When you're doing that, you're putting your body under a nice amount of stress, and your body is going to react to that stress by getting stronger. When you exercise in a 105-degree room, the heat is causing a stress in a good way, not too much, that's going to make you stronger. It's going to make all your cells stronger. If you take a cold shower, sit in an ice bath, that is making your body stronger. It's a little bit of stress. So it's basically, there's a beneficial effect, which is either improved health, stress tolerance, growth, or longevity. Results from exposure to low doses of an agent that is otherwise toxic or lethal when given at high doses. You know, have you ever heard of homeopathy? You take a little bit of arsenic and that heals your whatever. It's the same thing. A little bit of something that could kill you actually heals you. This is the same philosophy. So the philosophy of Hormetism, whatever, is based on harnessing this biological phenomenon in a deliberate and systematic way to increase your strength and resilience. So this means trace amounts of elements such as saponins, lectins, even gluten, and other controversial compounds are actually good for you in trace amounts. Trace. Not too much will be bad for you. But a little bit of stress. I was just talking to somebody about lectins. Right? Yeah, just a little bit of lectins will make you stronger. And it's about getting your cells stronger. There are these little things in your cells called mitochondria. And the mitochondria in your cell is basically everything. It makes energy. It's the reason why people get cancer. It's the reason why people live to 100 are the mitochondria in the cells, the little energy producing parts of the cell. I don't want to get too much into technical, you can ask me questions about it. But when you exercise in heat and sweat and really hot, that makes those mitochondria strong. When you have a strong mitochondria, you can fight off anything. You can deal with heat, you can deal with cold, you can deal with stress. It's strong, you can fight. That cell may not become a cancer cell now because you just strengthen that mitochondria. Do you ever watch survival shows? Anyone watch survival shows? There's this dual survivor from years ago.
Yeah, I like that.
Cody, do you know who that Cody is?
Yeah.
So he used to walk around with no shoes ever, and in the winter he would just wear socks. And it was him and this other guy who was like a military guy. It's called Dual Survivor. They have different guys on now. You know what he used to say? He used to be like, this is what he used to say. He's like, my mitochondria can kick your mitochondria's ass. That's what he used to say. Because all the things that he did made his mitochondria strong, which made his body strong and resistant to disease and sickness and cancer and heart disease and everything. So little teeny stresses. So I'm not going to tell you to eat gluten, right? But if you eat a little bit of gluten sometimes, maybe it makes you a little stronger unless you're allergic to it or something. That's just the definition. What I recommend is heat thermogenesis, exercising in heat. In the summer, let your house be hot. Maybe at night put the air conditioning on so you could sleep, but be hot in the summer. That makes you strong. That makes you strong. Be cold in the winter. I am not one to take a cold shower. Some people take cold showers and take ice baths. I cannot. I can do heat. I can do heat like no one's business. Like, no way, I can't do cold. But what I do in the winter is I just suck it up. Our house is maybe at 62 degrees, and maybe I'm cold and wear some extra clothes. But you know what happens over the course of like weeks or maybe a couple more, I just get used to it. And then I'll walk in and be like, oh my God, it's hot in here. And it's like 61 degrees. You let your body get accustomed to cold and hot. So instead of a cold shower, I would much rather just be a little cold all winter.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll put cold water on my face.
In the freezer. Go in the freezer.
How did that happen, huh?
No, I'm saying go in the freezer.
We have a freezer in there. And I was like, let's go sit in the freezer. I went in. I was studying all about cold thermogenesis. Were you in there with me? Me and Joy went in, and I was like, all right, I gotta go. I think I lasted like 5 seconds. I'm like, this is cold. I'd rather just be a little cold all winter, right? So I get used to the cold, and it makes your body stronger. But if you can sit in an ice bath and take a cold shower, do it. It's so good for you. Calorie restriction That's another one of the big things that they do. In every blue zone, they just don't eat a lot. Like, what do they eat? They don't eat any processed food, and they don't eat a lot. They just eat much less. And a lot of them have been through phases, periods in their lives where there was where they were starving. So you want to biohack that, right? And that means like creating an environment. So you want to intermittent fast, which you skip breakfast every day. Maybe 2 days a week, you don't eat anything until dinner. You just eat 1 or 2 meals a day most. That is going to keep you living so much longer. Even when I just started getting into health, like 30 years ago, I started getting into health. Maybe even longer than that. I remember reading about people fasting. And it was they said it was the best thing you could ever do for your body is to fast. Because your body has to digest all that food you're putting in. And if you're just eating all day and snacking, your body is digesting food all day and it doesn't have any time to do anything else. And it wears out your digestive system. And then you just get digestive issues. Or you die early because your digestive system's like, done. So if you just eat less and then eat 1 or 2 meals a day and don't snack, that's one of the best things that you can do for your health. So calorie restriction is huge. Yeah.
Just to clarify, so is it frequency or is it amount or is it both?
It's both. It's both. So what all the people who lived a long time, they did. I even have 2 slides about this concept coming up later about you only eat till you're 80% full. It's like from Okinawa, but it's frequency and amount. They eat 1 or 2 meals a day and they don't eat a lot. And then you know what happens to your body? It just gets used to it, and it gets stronger, and it uses the calories you have better, and it gets more nutrients, and you have more energy because it becomes more efficient at using the food you have.
So if you have gut issues, is it good to like have a Terrazyme on an empty stomach before you go to bed?
It's good to that's fine to like take an enzyme, a digestive enzyme, to like help your digestive system learn how to digest again, right? That's like good, like a biohack. It's like, hey, my digestive system is a mess. I'm gonna take Terrazyme, which is a digestive enzyme, and it's gonna help my body learn how to digest again. And then with that, you also do some intermittent fasting, so your body doesn't have to digest food all day, right?
What
So
about
kind
if you
of going
produce,
back.
What about if you produce an excessive amount of acid?
Then you know what that is? That is you're you're eating something you're allergic to. You're either eating too much carbs, too much gluten. I don't know. I have to specifically look at what you're doing. But if you have that, you have to fast. Give your body a chance to heal and recover. If you don't eat, like when you fast, your body actually starts to recover and heal itself because it has time and energy to do that. If you're just eating all day, there is no time or energy to heal you from anything or to fix anything. It's just digesting food all day.
Well, fasting can be done in many ways, so is there any difference between fasting once a week? Because you said all of these people have spirituality as a
Yeah, you can fast once a week.
Just once a week, and you're eating your normal way during the week, or do you need to do it daily?
I would at least 3 days a week. At least skip breakfast.
At least 3 days?
Yeah, I do it every day. Maybe you have to start out like 3 days a week. Some people can fast for days, like do a water fast for 5 days. That's fine. I can't do that because then I'd have to not do yoga. That's not happening. But so that's good. You can fast for 3 days. You can fast 1 full day every week, and then other days just make sure you eat less. Like don't eat too much. Like what works for you? Figure out what works for you. Some people like to skip dinner and not breakfast.
I'm one of those.
Yeah, see, like you have to try out these things. And some people like to fast 1 full day a week, and then the rest of the week, as long as you're eating healthy and not too much, it's fine. Like see what works for you.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was
Not really. It's just fasting. You know, it's not. Intermittent fasting is something that's easy for people because they're still eating every day. and you're just skipping breakfast, or skipping breakfast and lunch, which is what I do,
I eat a big lunch, so I
Yeah.
don't need a big.
and then you don't need to eat dinner, or eat a small dinner.
Correct.
Sure thing, Bonnie. Sun. This is also Hormesis. Getting sun. Not too much sun where you get burned, but sun makes you stronger. It provides vitamin D. We're so afraid of the sun. How did we survive the desert wanderings if the sun killed us, right? Like, how do people live in the desert and live in these places? The sun is really, really good for you. Too much sun, meaning, not that there's ever too much sun, but if you burn, you're getting too much sun. And that's not good for you, to burn. But to be outside in the sun every day is good. We don't have that luxury here, so when it's sunny, you get out in the sun. And that will produce a response in your body. It creates vitamin D, it makes you stronger, it fights cancer, it reduces, here, there's some information here. So yeah, like all this scare, like skin cancer scare, there are more cases of skin cancer because of the chemicals in sunscreen than because of the sun. Proven fact. More cases. Because the chemicals in the sunscreen will cause they're proven carcinogens to cause skin cancer. So we lather all the stuff like on ourselves. Just get out in the sun. Just don't burn. That's all.
You make a nice one. You make a nice one. I use yours all summer. The
Oh
sunscreen.
yeah. You can use a natural sunscreen. Like if you're gonna go to the beach.
Yeah, that's what I
For
did. I
like-
used yours all summer.
For a lot, and that's a lot of sun. You can put a little bit of zinc oxide and some coconut oil. I make a sunscreen that will block the rays, but a lot of these sunscreens block the wrong rays. They block the good rays, not the bad rays. It's very strange how it works. But like zinc oxide with a little coconut oil will block all the rays. So you just so you put it on for part of the day. You're not just getting beaten down by the sun, then you'll burn. Does that make sense? So we're like terrified. We're terrified of getting skin cancer, where when you're in the sun, your body makes vitamin D, which protects you from skin cancer and diabetes and almost every other kind of cancer and heart disease. Having enough vitamin D in your body is basically a defense against everything. Almost everything, right? But sunlight actually reduces the incidence of cancer, and that was in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute. So there's a lot of research out there about how the sun prevents skin cancer, not causes skin cancer. But sun, again, is a little bit of a hormesis effect. Puts a little stress on your body responds by creating this vitamin D and by all of these good things happening to your skin. Makes your skin stronger, makes it more protective. What's about the sun? Coconut oil is a good sunscreen just by itself. It has a little sunscreen effect. I had something else to say. Oh, my son was in camp when he was 5, and we have a little bit of darker skin, so he doesn't, even if he's out all day, he's not going to burn. Like some people are really pale and they may need to use something, but he doesn't. Like he's not, maybe he's like me, maybe a little less. So I went to camp, and I don't send him with sunscreen. I'm like, don't let anyone put sunscreen on you.
Right.
I'm getting cancer. And so he's at camp, he's outside all day, and the counselor's like, how is it possible, he's 5, that you don't put any sunscreen on, and you don't even burn? And he's like, and then he explained to them, because when I'm in the sun, I make vitamin D, and that prevents burning. He's like 5 years old, he explained, he goes, he said, you shouldn't wear sunscreen either.
When he's in the sun, his body makes vitamin
And
D.
he said, oh, you know what else he said? He goes, and I don't eat a lot of sugar, so I'm not going to burn in the sun. Because if you eat a lot of inflammatory sugar and a lot of grains, you're more likely to burn also. He goes, well, I don't eat sugar, and so I'm not going to burn, so I don't burn. So then you should do that too. He's 5 years old.
So sugar make you burn.
And sugar makes you burn too, yeah.
Make you brown out there, right?
No, it makes your skin burn.
Brown in the wrong way, though.
Yeah. So this is interesting too. You can grow like wild greens really, really easily in your backyard or one of those pots. You don't have to do all of these things, but these are just ideas. So wild greens, again, that's another thing that everyone does in these blue zones. They're just these wild plants and wild greens that grow, and they just eat them. Right? So you can go to your own backyard. There's this app called Plant Identifier. You can take a picture, it tells you what it is. There's a ton of stuff in your backyard, unless you spray, that you can eat. We have wild plantains in our backyard. We have these garlic things. We have these little other things in our backyard. You can eat them. We just go outside in our backyard and we just eat them. But there's a lot of things that you can grow, like wild greens that you can grow. If you're interested, you can get a book called Eating on the Wild Side. Another thing about these greens, like kale and spinach and lettuce, if you tear them, so plants have a natural defense in them. Plants don't want to be eaten. So some of these wild, like dandelions, they're really, really bitter. That prevents people and animals from eating them, right? And so that's a natural defense that they have for themselves. But if you buy kale or spinach, whatever, if you tear it, it will ramp up all of these different antioxidants.
Who would have known?
So then when you eat it, it's healthier for you. It's a little hack. So buy your greens, yeah, you tear them, and then they're like, oh, we're being attacked, and they release more good things that's healthier for you. You're kind of torturing it, but who said vegetarians don't torture things? I'm just kidding. So it causes, let's see. So all of these things that it releases they have, like the built-in defense, will subject your body, your gut to a little bit of stress, hormesis, causing a response that allows your body to have more antioxidants and to have a stronger immune system. Yes?
So this is true when the plant has already been harvested?
Yeah. If you buy some kale and you just tear it up and then wait a couple hours and eat it or whatever, there's going to be more, your body's going to respond by producing more antioxidants because it's responding to the increase in whatever the plant is, even if it's already been harvested.
Are there some plants that are, like that are better cooked or raw?
It's whatever you can
Whatever
you
your
can handle.
body can handle.
Some people can't handle a lot of raw, some people can't handle a lot of cooked. It's okay.
Okay.
Some people say kale is better. If you have thyroid issues, it's better to steam it lightly. It's fine.
You get the same effect if you chop your vegetables?
I don't think so. I heard, like what I read was that if you tear it.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know why. Is that interesting? It's almost like an animal is tearing it, like eating it, then it'll say, oh, if I release this, the next bite will be bitter. And then no one will want to eat me. Does that make sense? But any green or anything that tastes bitter is going to be healthy, usually, unless it's like poisonous. Make sure you know what you're eating. But it's really, if you are interested in this, you could go on these nature walks, these different local places, and they'll take you and show you wild edibles. My kids are into this. Any questions about that? Here's some more greens. So just in general, eating greens is a great way to get your carbs. Like we're going to talk about, I'm not going to go too much into like, but I'll answer some food questions for sure. But you're not supposed to eat too many carbs. You're not supposed to eat a lot of grains or sugar, any sugar. Like, so if you eat salad, that's a good way to get your carbs. You don't need to eat rice or bread or pasta or even potatoes to get carbs. Salad is enough carb. You can get enough carbs that your body needs for the day by eating a big salad. Maybe some nuts, right? That you don't need to eat that. But so, speaking about greens, they say a salad a day keeps dementia away. So a recent study published in Neurology found that people who consumed 1 to 2 servings of leafy green vegetables each day experienced fewer memory problems and cognitive decline than people who rarely ate leafy greens. they studied 960 adults, and there was no signs of dementia when they ate salad every day. So there's like all there's all this science and all this research, and all it's doing is backing up the simple idea of grow stuff in your backyard, or just go buy a bunch of stuff that you know is healthy, like a bunch of greens, and eat a lot of vegetables. And does that make sense? Just eat more natural food. So it's like, oh, if I eat salad every day, I'm gonna you don't have to think that, like, because you can think that way and you drive yourself crazy. But yeah, it's gonna not only, I mean, I'm sure there's other studies that show that it reduces cancer and heart disease also, right? But just eating, we all know that greens are good for you. It's good to know that it reduces dementia, but we know that that's good food, and maybe that you don't like it, but then so what? That just suck it up, right? Get used to it. Like, you'll develop a taste for anything. If you're just used to eating macaroni and cheese, whatever, like kids who just eat macaroni and cheese and chicken nuggets, they don't develop a taste for anything, because they're not used to eating anything that has any flavor. But when you stop eating processed food and start eating natural food, it'll just start to taste better. But there's nothing wrong with, I'm eating a salad because it's good for me, even though I don't feel like it, or even though I don't like it. That's just, so what, right? You don't have to enjoy every single thing that you put in your body. Like, it's that same thing about being uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable. Eat something that you know is like, eat a bunch of dandelion greens. That'll help heal your body, and maybe you'll develop a taste for it, but it feels good to do things that are uncomfortable. Like, you'll eat them and like, this tastes bad, but I know it's good for me, right? So here's another, so this woman and her nutritional epidemiologist at this university medical center said that people who consume 1 to 3 servings of leafy green vegetables a day had brains that were 11 years younger. That's a long time. That's a lot. 11 years younger than people who consume fewer servings. The study controlled for smoking, exercise, and other factors. 11 years younger by just eating a salad every day. You guys can all eat a salad every day. Most people around the world in these areas, they just eat a lot. They just go to their garden, they just pick whatever is growing, even if they're not growing it. A lot of them just eat stuff that grows naturally, right? But you can grow all this stuff too. But you don't have to grow it. You just go buy a bunch of salad, tear it up, eat a salad a day. And stop complaining about it. No, I was kidding. Just shut up. My favorite. Just shut up and eat it. But you do develop taste for these things, don't you think? You develop a taste for these things. My son, my 10-year-old, is like, Mommy, you act like you love salad. Do you love salad? I'm like, I do love salad. I don't know if I love it because I've convinced myself that it's good, or if I just got used to eating it, or if I just feel so good when I eat it that I just want to eat it. I don't know. Either way, I like it. I'm like, I can't wait to eat my salad. Do I really? He's like, do you really like how it tastes? I'm like, I don't know. It just feels good and I enjoy it. Maybe I enjoy it. Who knows why I enjoy it? I don't know. But you just start doing things that are good for you and you'll start enjoying them. Because you'll feel good. Then maybe you eat something that makes you feel bad. Right? That's not fun.
What do you put in your salad?
I put like all these greens, right? This is like the mixed greens, and I put sprouted sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds, and sometimes like something fermented, like beets, an avocado, and then olive oil and vinegar. And sometimes if there's nothing there, I just put olive oil and vinegar on greens, and I use.
Did you say beets?
Fermented beets.
Fermented
I forgot to tell you about that earlier. If you ferment beets, they don't have as much sugar in them.
Before they're cooked.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
ferment beets. So sometimes I do that.
We
But
used to
mostly
eat
it's just
rabbits,
greens with a bunch of sprouted seeds and then some more avocado.
So you just do the salt thing in a
Yeah.
quart jar?
Yeah. I don't do it. I buy it. But you can do that.
I
You can do that.
I am fermenting.
I know. You know how to do all that stuff. She knows how to do all that stuff. I don't do that.
The sprouting, just soaking the seeds overnight?
Yeah. I buy it sprouted because then it's really crunchy. It tastes good. But sprouting a nut or a seed, you soak it overnight, and that gets rid of some of the bad things, and then you slowly dry it out, like an oven that's like under 100 degrees or 100 degrees, and it dries it out. It makes it really crunchy if you do it right, and it makes it just much healthier and much easier to digest and has more nutrients. It's almost like putting the nut under, or a seed under a stress, and it brings out all these nutrients and enzymes that were dormant in it before.
So you said sprouted sunflower?
I
and
do
pumpkin
sprouted
seeds?
sunflower and pumpkin seeds.
And you just buy them at like Whole Foods?
I just buy them here.
Oh,
And
you
we have
have them here?
sprouted cashews. Then after my salad, I'll eat sprouted cashews or almonds.
So the sprouted ones are already ready to eat.
They're already ready to eat.
You don't
and
have
they're
to soak
crunchy.
those.
You don't have to do anything. It's already sprouted. They're more expensive, but that's what I don't. I've tried sprouting it and it just doesn't come out like that, so I just buy it. But I do eat a lot of nuts. So I'm talking about fasting. Anyone else have any questions about the grains? Eat a salad every day. Fasting activates autophagy, which helps slow down the aging process. Autophagy is when your body will eat away dead cells and dead stuff. And because if you don't fast, you don't have any time or energy. Your body doesn't have time or energy to do that. So when you're fasting, your body's like, oh, okay, well, there's nothing to digest. What am I going to do? And then it goes around and it cleans out your body. It cleans out dead cells and it cleans out all this other stuff. So during any kind of starvation, your cells break down proteins and other cell components and use them for energy. So during autophagy, your cells destroy viruses, bacteria, they get rid of anything that's damaged. It's really important for like renewal, for survival. And so you're kind of biohacking all of these good things when you just fast. No, anyone can fast. Even if you have diabetes, you can fast. Low sugar. I'll have to write down what you're eating and bring it into me and I'll see. Because you can also biohack fasting, where you eat half the amount of calories that you would normally eat for a few days, and your body thinks that you're in like a fasting state.
What is biohack?
Biohacking is like creating an environment that you're like, instead of moving to Okinawa,
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
or whatever it is, so you're going to exercise in heat.
Okay.
You're creating an environment. You're kind of hacking an environment to create something in your body
Like
that's
getting out
not
of your comfort
happening.
zone, kind of?
Like what?
Getting out of your comfort zone?
Getting out of your comfort zone, but like hacking like how your body reacts to things. You know what like a life hack is? Like you use a fork to do this or whatever.
Right.
It's like biohacking is hacking your biology by like exercising in heat or taking a cold shower or fasting to create, so your body thinks it's starving, so now it's just going to break down your bacteria and viruses and clean house. But you're not really starving, you're creating a state of starvation. Make sense?
Yeah.
Not biohacking. So that's what you're doing when you're fasting. But you can, some people don't want to do a full fast. Some of these biohackers will, for 5 days, every season or twice a year, just eat half the amount of calories that they would normally eat, and their body thinks it's starving and fasting fully. There's still research being done on that. Did you read about that? Someone told me that. So maybe you eat less throughout the day, maybe different kind of food, and then you can like kind of trick your body into like going into autophagy. We'll have to look, have to see what you're eating. So all animals, plants, even single-celled organisms rely on autophagy.
I never heard that word before.
And scientists have found that fasting for at least 12 hours triggers autophagy and is thought to be one of the reasons that why fasting is associated with longevity.